I swung the front door open with a sense of anticipation, the aroma of the beef stew I had lovingly prepared wafting behind me. It was our 23rd wedding anniversary, and I couldn't wait to see Emily's face light up as she walked into our beautifully decorated home. But what greeted me wasn't the warmth of her smile or the joyous embrace I had imagined. No, it was the sight that shattered my heart into 1,000 irreparable pieces. There, in our own bedroom, where our memories were etched into every corner, I saw them, Emily and Greg. She was entangled in his arms, her laughter echoing off the walls like a cruel mockery of our years together. Time stood still as I took in the scene, the stew pot slipping from my numb fingers, splattering hot liquid on the pristine floor. They froze too, caught in their betrayal, their faces a mixture of guilt and defiance. Emily's eyes widened in disbelief, her lips parting as if to speak, but no words came forth. Greg, on the other hand, smirked, a smugness that cut through me like a knife. His arrogance fueled the fire of rage building within me. "James, Emily started, but I held up a trembling hand, silencing her. My voice, when it finally emerged, was eerily calm, belying the storm raging inside me. "I think you've said enough," I managed to say, my voice hoarse with suppressed emotion. Without another word, I turned on my heel and walked away, leaving behind the shattered remnants of what I thought was my life. In the solitude of our once happy home, the echoes of their laughter haunted me, mingling with the bitter taste of betrayal. The warmth of our anniversary plans turned cold, replaced by a chilling determination to make them both pay for the pain they had inflicted. The drive away from our home felt surreal, as if I were a passenger in my own life, watching the world pass by through a haze of disbelief and anger. The image of Emily and Greg together seared into my mind, tormenting me with each blink of my eyes. Shock slowly gave way to a raw, seething sense of betrayal. How could she do this to us? To me? 23 years of marriage, the vows we had exchanged still echoing in my ears, shattered in an instant. Every cherished memory, every sacrifice made for our family, now tainted by the undeniable proof of her infidelity. I parked the car by the river, the gentle flow of water offering a semblance of peace amidst the turmoil raging within me. Gripping the steering wheel, I struggled to make sense of it all. Was there a sign I had missed? A moment where our connection had faltered, leaving room for someone else to slip into her heart? Questions swirled like a storm in my mind, each one more agonizing than the last. I replayed our last conversations, the moments we shared, searching for clues that might explain why she had strayed. But the answers eluded me, lost in the shattered fragments of what I thought was our love. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the water, a fitting metaphor for the darkness that had descended upon my life. Anger surged through me, a burning fury that threatened to consume everything in its path. Yet beneath it all, a cold resolve began to take root, a determination not to be the victim in this betrayal. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone, scrolling through the messages and photos I had gathered discreetly over the past weeks. Each piece of evidence was a jagged shard of truth, confirming what I had witnessed that fateful day. I knew what I had to do. Emily and Greg would not get away with this unscathed. They would feel the weight of their betrayal, just as I had felt the crushing blow of their deception. Revenge simmered in my veins, a bitter elixir that promised justice for the shattered pieces of my heart. As darkness settled around me, I made a silent vow. This was only the beginning. Days turned into weeks as I meticulously planned my next move, keeping my emotions tightly under control. The evidence of Emily's affair burned a hole in my pocket, a constant reminder of the betrayal that had upended my world. Finally, the opportunity for confrontation presented itself. I waited until Emily and Greg were together again, knowing their arrogance would make them careless. I wanted them to feel the weight of their actions, to see the consequences of their betrayal unfold before their eyes. It was a warm Saturday afternoon when I walked into our home unexpectedly, the key quietly turning in the lock. Their voices, hushed and intimate, reached my ears from the living room. Steeling myself, I pushed open the door and confronted them. Emily jumped, guilt flashing across her face as she turned to see me standing there. Greg, ever the cocksure adulterer, smirked as if he were amused by my presence. "James, I can explain," Emily started, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and desperation. "There's nothing left to explain," I said calmly, though inside I seethed with fury. "You've made your choice clear enough." Greg laughed, a mocking sound that fueled the fire of rage within me. "What's it to you, man? She obviously wasn't satisfied with what you had to offer." Those words hit like a physical blow, but I refused to let him see my pain. Instead, I focused on the next steps of my carefully laid plan. "I'm not here to listen to your excuses," I said, holding up my phone. "I have everything I need to prove your affair. It's over, Emily." Her face drained of color, the weight of my words sinking in. "James, please," she pleaded, reaching out as if to touch me. I stepped back, out of her reach. "Don't. This is the end." Greg stood up defiantly, his arrogance wavering as I met his gaze with unwavering resolve. "You think you can just walk in here and ruin our fun?" "This was never a game," I replied coldly. "You both made your choices. Now you'll face the consequences." With that, I turned and walked away, leaving them to face the reality of what they had done. Outside, the sun beat down mercilessly, mirroring the harsh glare of truth that had illuminated their betrayal. As I drove away, a sense of grim satisfaction settled over me. The first step in my revenge had been taken. Now, they would learn just how serious I was about making them pay for the destruction of our marriage. After the confrontation, I retreated into a strategic withdrawal, concealing the seething turmoil within me beneath a mask of composure. Outwardly, I appeared devastated, a husband scorned, betrayed by the woman he loved. Inside, however, a calculated plan began to take shape. I knew that impulsiveness would serve me no good. Revenge, to be truly satisfying, needed to be meticulously planned and executed. So I withdrew emotionally from Emily, creating the illusion that she had broken me, that I was incapable of moving forward. In reality, every waking moment was dedicated to plotting my next move. I reviewed the evidence of their affair repeatedly, ensuring no detail was overlooked. Photos, text messages, emails, all carefully cataloged to bolster my case and ensure the severity of their betrayal was undeniable. Simultaneously, I sought legal counsel. I met with a divorce lawyer whose reputation for handling high-stakes cases preceded him. Together, we devised a strategy to protect my assets, built over years of hard work and sacrifice, from Emily's grasp. The prenuptial agreement, hastily signed in the early days of our marriage at Emily's insistence, became my shield. It outlined clear terms that now worked in my favor, stipulating that in the event of infidelity, Emily would forfeit any claim to our accumulated wealth. With each step, I fortified my position. I quietly moved funds into secure accounts, ensuring Emily had no access. Properties and business interests were transferred to trusted friends and associates, safeguarding them from her potential legal maneuvers. Yet amidst the logistical planning, a deep ache persisted, a profound sadness for the marriage that once held such promise. I wrestled with memories of our happier times, questioning where it had all gone wrong, how I had failed to see the fractures in our union, until it was too late. But these moments of doubt were fleeting, eclipsed by a burning determination to see justice served. Emily and Greg would not escape unscathed. They would face the consequences of their actions, just as I had been forced to confront the harsh reality of their betrayal. In the solitude of my preparations, I found a grim satisfaction, a semblance of control in a situation that had spiraled beyond my grasp. The storm of emotions that had initially threatened to overwhelm me now fueled my resolve, propelling me forward with a singular purpose: to ensure Emily and Greg paid dearly for the devastation they had wrought upon our lives. Armed with a meticulous plan and fortified by legal counsel, my focus shifted to gathering irrefutable evidence of Emily's affair. Every spare moment was dedicated to this singular task, driven by a relentless pursuit of justice and retribution. I employed discreet surveillance methods, careful not to alert Emily or Greg to my actions. Hidden cameras captured their interactions, providing visual evidence of their clandestine meetings. I meticulously logged dates, times, and locations, each entry a damning testament to their betrayal. Beyond surveillance, I delved into their digital footprint. I scoured Emily's phone and computer, uncovering a trail of incriminating text messages and emails exchanged between her and Greg. Their words, once innocent in my eyes, now dripped with deceit and betrayal, confirming the depth of their affair. Photos, too, became pieces of a puzzle that painted a damning portrait. Snapshots of Emily and Greg together, laughing, embracing, sharing intimate moments, further solidified the case against them. Each image, though a painful reminder of her infidelity, strengthened my resolve to seek justice. As the evidence mounted, so too did my sense of grim satisfaction. I knew that soon, Emily and Greg would be forced to confront the consequences of their actions. Their arrogance, once a source of infuriation, now fueled my determination to ensure they faced the full weight of their betrayal. Yet amidst the cold calculations and relentless pursuit of evidence, emotions simmered beneath the surface. The wounds of betrayal, raw and unhealed, threatened to resurface with each new discovery. I grappled with conflicting emotions, anger at Emily's betrayal, sorrow for the shattered remnants of our marriage, and a gnawing ache for the love we had once shared. But in the face of these emotions, a steely resolve took hold. I had come too far to falter now. The evidence I had meticulously gathered would serve as the foundation upon which I would build their downfall. Emily and Greg's reckoning was inevitable, and I would ensure that justice, however bitter, would be served. With a mountain of evidence meticulously gathered, I turned my attention to the legal battleground that would determine the outcome of our shattered marriage. I met with my divorce lawyer, Mr. Thompson, a seasoned veteran with a reputation for securing favorable outcomes in complex cases. Seated in his office, I laid out the evidence of Emily's affair, the photos, messages, and detailed logs of their meetings. Mr. Thompson reviewed each piece with a discerning eye, nodding occasionally as he absorbed the weight of their betrayal. "You've done an excellent job documenting everything," Mr. Thompson remarked, his voice a mix of professional detachment and quiet admiration. "This will be crucial in establishing grounds for divorce on the basis of infidelity." I nodded, grateful for his validation. "What are our next steps?" I asked, eager to set the wheels of justice in motion. Mr. Thompson leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers thoughtfully. "First, we'll file for divorce," he began, outlining a strategy that played to our advantage. "Given the prenuptial agreement you have in place, Emily's claims to marital assets will be significantly limited." He explained the importance of maintaining a strategic advantage throughout the legal process, anticipating Emily's potential moves and countering them with carefully crafted legal maneuvers. His confidence in our case bolstered my own resolve, reaffirming that justice, however cold and clinical, would prevail. Together we drafted the divorce petition, citing infidelity as grounds for dissolution of our marriage. Mr. Thompson ensured every detail was meticulously crafted, leaving no room for ambiguity or dispute. With each stroke of the pen, Emily's fate seemed more certain, a reckoning that loomed on the horizon, unavoidable and inexorable. As we concluded our meeting, Mr. Thompson offered a reassuring nod. "You're doing everything right, James," he said, his tone a rare mixture of professional reassurance and genuine empathy. "Stay focused on the end goal. We'll navigate this storm together." I left his office with a renewed sense of purpose. The legal battle ahead would be arduous, but I was prepared. Armed with evidence and guided by Mr. Thompson's expertise, I was determined to see Emily and Greg held accountable for the devastation they had wrought upon our lives. The wheels of justice had begun to turn. Now, all that remained was to ensure they rolled inexorably towards the justice I sought, a justice tempered by the bitter taste of betrayal, yet necessary for the closure and healing I desperately sought. With the legal groundwork laid and the divorce proceedings initiated, I turned my attention to safeguarding our financial assets from Emily's grasp. The prenuptial agreement, once a formality hastily signed in the early days of our marriage, now became my lifeline, a legal shield against her attempts to claim what was rightfully mine. Under Mr. Thompson's guidance, I embarked on a series of strategic maneuvers designed to protect our accumulated wealth. Quietly and methodically, I began transferring ownership of key properties and business interests to trusted friends and associates, individuals beyond Emily's reach. Each transfer was executed with precision, ensuring compliance with legal protocols while shielding these assets from Emily's potential claims. Accounts were discreetly moved into secure holdings, safeguarded by layers of legal protections that rendered them untouchable in the impending divorce proceedings. Simultaneously, I reviewed our joint financial accounts, meticulously documenting every transaction and asset. With Mr. Thompson's expertise, We identified potential vulnerabilities and preemptively fortified them against Emily's anticipated attempts to stake her claim. The process was painstaking and often fraught with emotional turmoil. Each decision carried weight, a stark reminder of the life we had built together, a life now fractured beyond repair by Emily's betrayal. Yet, amidst the turmoil, a sense of empowerment began to emerge, an assurance that I was taking control of my future, reclaiming what was rightfully mine. As the financial maneuvering continued, so too did my resolve to see justice served. Emily and Greg's actions had shattered our marriage, leaving behind a trail of heartache and devastation. Now they would face the consequences of their betrayal, financial repercussions that mirrored the emotional toll they had exacted upon me. With each asset secured and each legal loophole closed, I felt a grim satisfaction, a semblance of control in a situation that had once seemed overwhelming. The financial battlefield, once daunting in its complexity, now became a canvas upon which I wielded a newfound sense of purpose. Yet, beneath the veneer of determination, emotions churned, a mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief at the unraveling of our once promising future. I wrestled with the stark reality of our broken marriage, grappling with the painful realization that the woman I had loved had chosen to betray me. But amidst the turmoil, one thing remained clear. Emily and Greg would not emerge from this unscathed. They would face the full weight of their actions, confronting the financial consequences of their betrayal as I navigated the complexities of divorce with unwavering resolve. Armed with a meticulously prepared case and fortified financial defenses, I turned my attention to exposing Emily and Greg's affair to those closest to them. It was time for their carefully constructed facade to crumble under the weight of their deception. I began with Greg's wife, Jane, a woman whose trust had been callously betrayed by her husband's infidelity. Using anonymous channels, I carefully curated the evidence of their affair, the photos, the messages, the detailed logs of their secret rendezvous. Late one evening, I sent a discreet package to Jane's home, a carefully compiled dossier that laid bare the truth of Greg's betrayal, photos of Emily and Greg together, intimate messages exchanged between them, and timestamps that confirmed the extent of their deceit. The next morning, news of Greg's infidelity spread like wildfire through their social circle. Rumors swirled, fueled by the undeniable evidence I had painstakingly gathered. Jane, devastated by the revelations, confronted Greg with a fury born of betrayal. Their once stable marriage crumbled under the weight of his deception, leaving Greg to face the consequences of his actions. Meanwhile, Emily found herself isolated and ostracized by those who had once embraced her. Friends and acquaintances, once charmed by her charisma, now turned their backs in disbelief and disdain. The community's judgment, swift and unforgiving, mirrored the devastation wrought upon our own lives. Through it all, I remained a silent orchestrator, a shadowy figure behind the scenes, ensuring that justice was served without compromise. The exposure of their affair marked a pivotal moment in our unraveling marriage, a stark reminder of the irreversible damage caused by their betrayal. Yet amidst the chaos and upheaval, a sense of grim satisfaction settled over me. The facade of their affair had been shattered, revealing the true extent of their deception. Emily and Greg's carefully constructed world had crumbled, leaving them to face the repercussions of their actions, a reckoning that mirrored the emotional and financial devastation they had inflicted upon me. As the fallout of their affair continued to unfold, I prepared for the next phase of my revenge, a calculated strategy that would ensure Emily and Greg faced the full consequences of their betrayal. The exposure of their affair was just the beginning, a prelude to the justice that awaited them as I continued to navigate the tumultuous waters of divorce with unwavering determination. With the exposure of Emily and Greg's affair casting a long shadow over our shattered lives, I moved forward with the next phase of my meticulously planned revenge, serving Emily with the divorce papers. Under the guidance of Mr. Thompson, my trusted divorce lawyer, I ensured that every detail of the divorce petition was crafted to maximize my advantage. The prenuptial agreement, once a formality hastily signed in the early days of our marriage, now became a legal fortress that would protect my assets from Emily's attempts to claim what was rightfully mine. On a crisp autumn morning, I stood outside our home, the divorce papers clutched tightly in my hand. The weight of their betrayal hung heavy in the air, a palpable reminder of the shattered dreams and broken promises that had led us to this moment. Emily emerged from the house, her expression a mix of apprehension and defiance. She knew what was coming, yet the reality of our impending divorce seemed to catch her off guard. Greg, conspicuously absent, had retreated into the shadows, leaving Emily to face the consequences of their actions alone. "James," she began, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and uncertainty. I met her gaze with a steely resolve, refusing to let her see the emotional turmoil brewing beneath the surface. "Emily," I said evenly, extending the divorce papers towards her. "It's time." Her fingers trembled as she accepted the documents, her eyes scanning the pages with a mixture of disbelief and resignation. The reality of our marriage's demise seemed to settle over her like a heavy shroud, a stark contrast to the carefree facade she had maintained during her affair. "I never wanted it to come to this," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rustling leaves. "Actions have consequences, Emily," I replied tersely, my tone a reflection of the cold resolve that had driven me forward since the day I discovered her betrayal. "You made your choice." With that, I turned on my heel and walked away, leaving Emily to grapple with the weight of our failed marriage and the impending legal battle that lay ahead. The divorce papers, now in her possession, marked a definitive end to the life we had once shared, a life shattered beyond repair by her infidelity. As I drove away, a mix of emotions churned within me: anger at Emily's betrayal, sorrow for the lost dreams of our marriage, and a sense of grim satisfaction that justice, however bitter, was finally being served. The divorce papers were not just a legal formality. They were a testament to the irreversible damage caused by Emily and Greg's betrayal, a reckoning that would shape the course of our lives in ways we could never have imagined. The fallout from Emily and Greg's affair rippled through our once tightly knit community like a shockwave, leaving behind a trail of shattered relationships and whispered accusations. The revelation of their infidelity had exposed the dark underbelly of their seemingly perfect lives, casting doubt on the integrity of those we had once trusted. As news of the divorce spread, so too did the judgment and condemnation. Friends and acquaintances, once eager to socialize with Emily and Greg, now distanced themselves, their trust shattered by the deceit that had undermined our marriage. Social gatherings became awkward affairs, filled with uncomfortable silences and pointed glances. Whispers followed Emily wherever she went, the weight of their betrayal hanging heavy in the air. Greg, too, faced the scorn of those who had once admired him, a fall from grace that mirrored the depth of his betrayal. In the midst of the social upheaval, I remained a silent observer, a figure on the periphery of our unraveling social circle. The community's judgment, though painful, served as a stark reminder of the irreparable damage caused by Emily and Greg's actions. Yet, amidst the turmoil, a sense of vindication began to emerge. The facade of their perfect marriage had been shattered, revealing the truth of their betrayal. Emily and Greg, once pillars of the community, now found themselves isolated and ostracized, a fate they had brought upon themselves through their reckless pursuit of forbidden desires. As the social fallout continued to unfold, I focused on the legal battle ahead, the next phase of my meticulously planned revenge. Emily and Greg's betrayal had shattered our marriage, leaving behind a trail of heartache and devastation. Now, they would face the consequences of their actions in the cold, unforgiving arena of divorce court. With each passing day, the social fabric that had once bound us together unraveled further, torn apart by the revelations of their affair. The fallout from their betrayal had reshaped our lives in ways we could never have imagined, leaving us to navigate the turbulent waters of divorce with unwavering determination and a steely resolve to see justice served. With the divorce proceedings underway, and the social fallout from Emily and Greg's affair still reverberating through our community, I turned my attention to ensuring Greg faced the consequences of his betrayal, not just in his personal life, but professionally as well. Armed with the evidence of his misconduct, I meticulously crafted a strategy to expose Greg's affair at his workplace, a move that would not only tarnish his reputation, but also jeopardize his career and financial stability. I began by reaching out to individuals within Greg's professional network, colleagues, supervisors, and influential figures who held sway over his career trajectory. Using anonymous channels, I discreetly shared the evidence of his affair. the photos, messages, and detailed logs that left no room for doubt about his deceit. The response was swift and decisive. Rumors of Greg's infidelity spread like wildfire through his workplace, casting a shadow over his once impeccable reputation. Colleagues, once quick to praise his achievements, now viewed him with suspicion and disdain, a pariah among his peers. As the allegations gained traction, Greg faced mounting pressure from his superiors to address the accusations. Meetings behind closed doors, once filled with praise and accolades, now centered on damage control and mitigating the fallout from his indiscretions. Meanwhile, Jane, Greg's betrayed wife, confronted him with the evidence of his affair, a confrontation fueled by years of deception and the devastating impact of his infidelity on their marriage. Their once stable relationship crumbled under the weight of his betrayal, leaving Greg to face the consequences of his actions alone. In the midst of Greg's downfall, I remained a silent orchestrator, a shadowy figure behind the scenes, ensuring that justice was served without compromise. The exposure of his affair marked a pivotal moment in our unraveling lives, a stark reminder of the irreversible damage caused by his betrayal. Yet amidst the turmoil, a sense of grim satisfaction settled over me. Greg's downfall was not just a consequence of his affair, but a reflection of the justice that awaited him for the devastation he had wrought upon our lives. As the fallout continued to unfold, I prepared for the next phase of my revenge, a calculated strategy that would ensure Emily and Greg faced the full consequences of their betrayal. As Greg's downfall unfolded, Emily found herself caught in a downward spiral of desperation and despair. The exposure of their affair had shattered her carefully constructed facade, leaving her isolated and ostracized by those who had once embraced her. Gone were the social gatherings where she had once been the center of attention. In their place were awkward encounters and pointed whispers, judgmental stares that followed her wherever she went. The community's condemnation, once a distant fear, now enveloped her like a suffocating blanket. Desperate to salvage what remained of her shattered reputation, Emily reached out to friends and acquaintances in a bid to repair the damage wrought by her betrayal. But her efforts were met with skepticism and distrust, their once warm reception replaced by cold indifference or outright rejection. In her personal life, the fallout from her affair continued to unravel. My legal strategy, fortified by Mr. Thompson's expertise, had left Emily facing an uphill battle in the divorce proceedings. The prenuptial agreement, carefully crafted to protect my assets, limited her claims to what little remained of our shared wealth. Faced with the prospect of financial ruin and social ostracism, Emily's desperation grew. She pleaded for leniency, attempted to negotiate terms that would mitigate the consequences of her actions. But I remained steadfast in my pursuit of justice, unyielding in my determination to see Emily held accountable for the devastation she had wrought upon our lives. Meanwhile, Emily's relationship with Greg crumbled under the weight of their shared betrayal. Their once passionate affair had soured into bitterness and recrimination, each blaming the other for the unraveling of their lives. Arguments escalated into heated confrontations, fueled by years of deception and the harsh reality of their shattered dreams. As Emily's desperation deepened, so too did my resolve to see justice served. The fallout from her affair had reshaped our lives in ways we could never have imagined, leaving us to navigate the tumultuous waters of divorce with unwavering determination and a steely resolve to ensure she faced the consequences of her actions. With Emily's desperation mounting and Greg's downfall complete, I focused on securing a professional victory that would cement the consequences of their betrayal. Armed with the evidence of Greg's affair and the legal foundation established by Mr. Thompson, I embarked on a strategic campaign to ensure justice prevailed in the workplace as well. I leveraged my contacts within Greg's industry, key influencers and decision-makers who held sway over his career trajectory. Through discreet channels, I shared the evidence of his misconduct, the photos, messages, and detailed logs that left no room for doubt about his betrayal. The response was swift and decisive. Greg's professional reputation, once unblemished, now lay in tatters. Colleagues and superiors alike distanced themselves, wary of the scandal that had tarnished his once impeccable image. Meetings that once centered on his achievements now focused on damage control and mitigating the fallout from his indiscretions. Greg, once a rising star in his field, now faced an uncertain future. A pariah among his peers, his career prospects diminished by the stain of his betrayal. Attempts to salvage his professional reputation fell on deaf ears, overshadowed by the damning evidence of his affair and the irreparable damage it had caused. Meanwhile, Jane, Greg's betrayed wife, faced her own reckoning with the devastation wrought by his infidelity. Their once stable marriage lay in ruins, irreparably damaged by years of deceit and betrayal. Jane's anguish and anger echoed through their shattered home, a stark reminder of the emotional wreckage left in the wake of Greg's indiscretions. As Greg's professional downfall unfolded, Emily watched helplessly from the sidelines, a witness to the consequences of their shared betrayal. The exposure of their affair had left her isolated and ostracized, her attempts to repair the damage thwarted by the relentless judgment of those who had once trusted her. Through it all, I remained a silent orchestrator, a figure on the periphery, ensuring that justice was served without compromise. The professional victory over Greg was not just a consequence of his affair, but a reflection of the justice that awaited him for the devastation he had wrought upon our lives. Yet, amidst the turmoil, a sense of grim satisfaction settled over me. Greg's downfall served as a stark reminder of the irreversible damage caused by his betrayal, a reckoning that mirrored the emotional and professional devastation he had inflicted upon me and those around him. As the fallout continued to unfold, I prepared for the next phase of my revenge, a calculated strategy that would ensure Emily and Greg faced the full consequences of their actions. The professional victory over Greg was just the beginning, a prelude to the justice that awaited them as I continued to navigate the tumultuous waters of divorce with unwavering determination and a steely resolve to see justice served. As the legal proceedings and professional repercussions unfolded, the time approached for the final confrontation between Emily and me, a pivotal moment that would lay bare the raw emotions and lingering scars of our shattered marriage. We met in the sterile confines of Mr. Thompson's office, the tension palpable between us. Emily, once confident and charismatic, now appeared worn and defeated, a shadow of the woman I had once loved. Her eyes, once filled with warmth and affection, now held a mixture of regret and resignation. "James," she began, her voice tentative yet tinged with defiance, "I never meant to hurt you." Her words hung heavy in the air, a painful reminder of the betrayal that had torn our lives apart. I met her gaze with a steely resolve, refusing to let her see the emotional turmoil brewing beneath the surface. "You made your choice, Emily," I replied tersely, my tone a reflection of the cold resolve that had driven me forward since the day I discovered her affair with Greg. "And now, we have to deal with the consequences." Mr. Thompson, ever the voice of reason and legal expertise, guided us through the proceedings with a measured calm. He outlined the terms of the divorce settlement, carefully delineating the division of assets and responsibilities. Emily, once a partner in our shared life and dreams, now faced the reality of her diminished claims and tarnished reputation. As the meeting drew to a close, emotions threatened to overwhelm us both. Anger, sadness, and regret mingled with a sense of finality, a recognition that our marriage, once a source of joy and companionship, had irrevocably shattered under the weight of Emily and Greg's betrayal. Yet amidst the emotional turmoil, a sense of closure began to emerge. The final confrontation had laid bare the wounds of our shattered marriage, providing a cathartic release from the pain and heartache that had consumed us both. Emily, once my beloved wife, now stood as a symbol of the irreparable damage caused by her infidelity, a stark reminder of the betrayal that had reshaped our lives. As we parted ways, I felt a mix of emotions: anger at Emily's betrayal, sorrow for the lost dreams of our marriage, and a profound sense of relief that the legal battles were finally behind us. The final confrontation had brought us to the end of a tumultuous chapter, a chapter marked by betrayal, heartache, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Yet amidst the wreckage of our shattered marriage, a glimmer of hope began to emerge. The wounds inflicted by Emily and Greg's betrayal would heal with time, leaving behind scars that served as a reminder of the resilience and strength that had carried me through the darkest days of our unraveling lives. As I walked away from Mr. Thompson's office, I knew that the road to recovery would be long and arduous. But I also knew that I had emerged stronger and wiser, a survivor of the storm that had threatened to consume me, determined to rebuild my life on the foundation of justice and closure. In the aftermath of the final confrontation with Emily and the completion of the divorce proceedings, I found myself standing at the precipice of a new chapter in my life, a chapter defined not by betrayal and heartache, but by resilience and renewal. With the support of friends and family who had stood by me through the tumultuous journey, I began the process of rebuilding my life. The wounds of Emily and Greg's betrayal, though deep, gradually began to heal with each passing day. I immersed myself in work, finding solace in the routine and familiarity of my professional endeavors. The legal victories and professional repercussions had provided a measure of closure, a sense that justice, however bitter, had been served. The financial maneuvering and exposure of their affair had ensured that Emily and Greg faced the consequences of their actions, leaving them to navigate their own paths forward. As time passed, I found myself rediscovering the passions and interests that had once brought joy and fulfillment to my life. I reconnected with old friends, forging new connections that offered companionship and support in the aftermath of our shattered marriage. The pain of betrayal lingered, a scar that served as a reminder of the resilience and strength that had carried me through the darkest days. Yet, amidst the wreckage of our shattered marriage, I discovered a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to forge ahead with unwavering resolve and a commitment to reclaiming my happiness. Emily and Greg, once central figures in my life, faded into the periphery, a distant memory of a chapter marked by deception and heartache. Their betrayal had reshaped my life in ways I could never have imagined, leaving behind a legacy of lessons learned and resilience gained. As I reflected on the journey that had brought me to this moment, I realized that I had emerged stronger and wiser, a survivor of the storm that had threatened to consume me. The road to recovery had been fraught with challenges and setbacks, but through it all, I had discovered a newfound sense of self and a clarity of purpose that had eluded me in the tumult of our unraveling marriage. With each step forward, I embraced the promise of a future filled with hope and possibility, a future defined by the courage to rebuild and the resilience to overcome. As I looked ahead, I knew that I was no longer defined by the betrayal of the past, but by the strength and determination that had carried me through to the other side. And so, with a heart filled with gratitude for the lessons learned and the support received, I embraced the journey of moving on, a journey that led me towards a brighter tomorrow, guided by the enduring belief that love, resilience, and redemption awaited on the horizon.